Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivracharya Sutra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Channaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Anand Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamkun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki, Vrindavan Dham ki, Mathura Dham ki, Navadip Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Swami ki, Yamuna Mai ki, Srimati Tulsi Devi ki, Samved Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutle Srimate Bir Krishna Goswami Niti Namne Namo Hamsta Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyate Surya Shuddhi Nishtha Vemtasya Vakyan Vadine. So Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Welcome to our online viewers on MyPut TV and Facebook and ISKCON Sydney YouTube. This morning we are going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15 and text number 33. The title of this chapter is something that we all want to know all the time. It's the description of the kingdom of God. Where does Krishna live? How does it look? You know, what is the kingdom of God really like? Because what we know is our world as we know it, as we see it here every day. So it is a very interesting topic, and there's a lot to be learned on this chapter. So it is chapter 15 for those of you who want to read the whole story of the kingdom of God, which is the abode of Krishna. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Prayasho Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, so let's see. Nahi antaram bhagavitiha samasta kukshav Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhira Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingno kim Vyutpaditam hi udhara bhedi bhayam yatosya Nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kukshav Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhira Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim Vyutpaditam hi udarabhedi bhayam yatosya. Nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kuksha. Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhiraha. Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim. Vyutpaditam hi udarabhedi bhayam yatosya. Nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kuksha. Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhiraha. Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim. Vyutpaditam hi uddharabhedi bhayam yatosya. Nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kuksha. Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhiraha. Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim. Vyutpaditam hi udarabhedi bhayam yatosya. Nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kuksha. Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhiraha. Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim. Vyutpaditam hi udarabhedi bhayam yatosya. Ladies, nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kuksha. Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhiraha. Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim. Vyutpaditam hi uddharabhedi yatosya. Nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kuksha. Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhiraha. Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim. Vyutpaditam hi uddharabhedi bhayam yatosya. Anyone else? Nahi antaram bhagavatiha samasta kuksha. Atmanam atmani nabho nabha shivadhiraha. Pashyanti yatra yuvayo suralingino kim. Vyutpaditam hi uddharabhayam yatosya. Okay, so the words and their meanings. Na, not. He, because. Antaram, distinction. Bhagavati, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Iha, here. Samasta kuksha, everything is within the abdomen. Atmanam, the living entity. Atmani, in the supersoul. Nabha, the small quantity of air. Nabhasi, within the whole air. Iva, as. Dhira, the learned. Pashyanti, see. Yatra, in whom. Yuva yo, of you two. Suralingino, dressed like inhabitants of Vaikunta. Kim, how. Vyutpaditam, awakened, developed. He, certainly. Uddarabhedi, distinction between the body and the soul. Bhayam, fearfulness. Yata, where from. Asya, of the Supreme Lord. So we've got the translation here in the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the translation of this particular shlok means, in the Vaikuntha world, there is complete harmony between the residents and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as there is complete harmony within space between the big and the small skies. Why there is a seed of fear in this field of harmony? These two persons are dressed like inhabitants of Vaikuntha, but where from can their disharmony come into existence? So we can all repeat. In the Vaikuntha world, there is complete harmony between the residents and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as there is complete harmony within space between the big and the small skies. Why then there is a seed of fear in this field of harmony? These two persons are dressed like inhabitants of Vaikuntha, but where from can their disharmony come into existence? Okay, so what this translation is saying is there are two inhabitants there. Basically, in the spiritual world, there's no fighting, for want of a better or different word, from disharmony, harmony. There is no fighting there. There is always friendship. So it is really unusual that there's somebody who's there's disharmony. There's no peace or something. Like everybody is friendly there. So how come there are two residents in the Vaikuntha Dham? This is with Krishna, in Krishna's house. They're two rude people, sort of. Like there's somebody there who's not really behaving themselves like they should normally, like a resident of Vaikuntha. Where is it coming from? So that's the question. So just to give you a brief background, what's happened is that the four Sanatan Kumars, they're like little boys they roughly look like 5 years old. They don't have any clothes. They're sort of like very, very natural looking children. Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan Ki Jai. So they've decided to pay a visit to Lord Krishna's abode, and Lord Krishna's abode has got 7 doors, 7 gates. They're golden gates, they're very opulent looking gates, and these children, 4 children, they managed to get through 6 gates, and they are now on the 7th gate, and they're stopped by Jai and Vijay. If you want to know who Jai and Vijay is, they're standing right there guarding Gopinath's doors. That's their job. So they stop us from going onto the altar. And in Lord Krishna's kingdom, Jai and Vijay stop us from going into his house, basically, in a general sense. So these 4 boys were able to get through the 6 doors, and now the 7th door they've been stopped. And the question arises then that this is Vaikuntha, and why would anybody, everybody is self-realized there. They're all transcendental. And they are full of knowledge, and they should know that these 4 little boys, even though they look like 5-year-old children, they're actually rishis, and they're highly realized souls. So For example, if you had gone into Vaikuntha, right, Lord Krishna's abode, you'd obviously be qualified and you'd be fully realized and 100% qualified before you get there. So you would look at something or someone and you'll know straight away, okay, this person is a demon, or that person, they can enter or not. So the question arises, why is this a disharmony? Why this Jay and Vijay playing up? They should know straight away that these boys are not ordinary boys, and they actually are qualified to enter the gate. So where is this disharmony? It's unusual for Vaikuntha. It doesn't happen. And they dress like Lord Krishna. So let's see what the purport says. It's actually a long purport, so I might take a pause in between and give some explanations and things. So, purport, just as there are different departments in each state in this material world, the civil department and the criminal department, so in God's creations, there are two departments of existence. As in the material world, we find that the criminal department is far smaller than the civil department. So this material world, which is considered the criminal department, is 1/4 of the entire creation of the Lord. So in case you are wondering which category we fall in, any guesses? We are criminals. We are total criminals. And our world is actually only 1/4 of the creation of Lord Krishna, which really means is the 3/4 or 3/4 of creation is basically the spiritual world, generally. So we only comprise of 1/4. We are kind of tiny. So, and we are all criminals. And let's see why. All living entities who are residents of the material universes are considered to be more or less criminals because they do not wish to abide by the order of the Lord. That's why we are criminals. Because we are actually here because we refuse to serve Krishna the way he wants us to. We refuse to be humble, we refuse to be fully realized souls, we wanted to enjoy on our own. So that makes us a criminal. So we chose to be in the material world. That's why. Where are we? Considered to be more or less criminals, but they do not wish to abide by the Lord, or they are against the harmonious activities of God's will. So we are actually against the harmonious activities of God's will. We want it our way, not his way. The principle of creation is that the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is by nature joyful. So he's always happy, and he becomes many in order to enhance his transcendental joy. The living entities like ourselves, being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, are meant to satisfy the senses of the Lord. So we were basically created, for Lord Krishna's pleasure. He created you so that he could have some fun. He created me so he could have some fun. And what we did was we kind of refused to go along with his plans. And this is why we are here. So thus, wherever there is a discrepancy in that harmony, immediately the living entity is entrapped by Maya or illusion. So what does that mean? We are all in Maya and in illusion. We're struggling to get out. But we are still here. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Actually, I might talk about it now. With that, Maya and illusion, the reason is actually we are supposed to be part and parcel of the Lord, right? You know that we are the soul. And so the nature of the soul is to enjoy. So we are, in one sense, like Krishna, Lord Krishna, we want to enjoy. But we want to do it our way. So we kind of realize that, okay, let's not, Lord Krishna is having fun, but let us have a fun in our way. And so we are in a state of Maya illusion. Why? Because we think that Maya is attractive. What is Maya? Maya means that which is not, really. And we kind of think that it's going along the lines of the criminal world, right? Let's take, for example, prisoners, actual criminals in our world. They are in the prison. And in the prison, Obviously, they are trapped, they're caged, right? And there are certain times in the prison, if you talk to somebody who's been to prison, which I have, I'm sure you have also at some stage, some of us anyway, at some stage in the prison life, they make friends with each other, right? So this is a good prisoner to be with, that's a bad prisoner to be with. And sometimes in the prison, they have their good days. What's a good day? Maybe they have some special day for some kind of treat they're given. So what happens is the prisoner, they become happy. Because, oh, today we had a special halwa to eat or something, I don't know. It's great. So that's our nature. We are, in Maya, we are the spirit soul. We're quite pure inside. We are supposed to be just like Lord Krishna. We want to have joy and bliss. But we are encased in a material body. We are trapped in the material body, just like the prisoners are in a cage. We are also like a prisoner. We are like criminals. And this is our prison. As long as we have the material body encasing us, we can never be happy. And what's the reason for that? Because Maya is actually Dukhalya Mashvasta. It's temporary. That's the word I'm looking for. Temporary. So just like the prisoners enjoyed halwa for a day, we also enjoy our halwa for a day. And that's why we'll never be happy. But still, just like the prisoners, like everybody else, we kind of think, okay, let's enjoy whatever it is. I don't know, buy a Ferrari or whatever it is that you want to enjoy. It's enjoying your senses, but it doesn't really last. Even if you kind of enjoy that same thing all your life, you only have 100 years to enjoy it. After that, you're finished, you're gone. So you'll never be happy. Never. So if anybody is thinking, oh, Hare Krishna is, she's telling us we'll never be happy. Why should we be in the Hare Krishna movement? Well, actually, we do offer you eternal happiness. We offer you the knowledge, which is what we are doing today, is we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. The knowledge will actually make us realize that these senses or this body is kind of temporary. We've got to do stuff. We've got to do something to get out of it. We've got to do something to get eternal joy and happiness. So the knowledge that we get in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the knowledge we get from this particular chapter is also one very important lesson. What's that? The lesson is that there is an abode of Lord Krishna. Like we think that this is our world, this is our home, there is no world for Krishna. So when we read this chapter, we kind of realize, oh, Lord Krishna's home is somewhere. He has got 7 gates. He has got Jai and Vijay guarding the gates. So we kind of know there's a home there. Because in our material senses, we are unable to perceive. We're kind of not qualified. We have material senses, we have material body, we have material eyes, so we can't see the spiritual world with these eyes. So we kind of read the books and the knowledge. And that's why we read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the knowledge helps us understand that we have to do things to get out of this temporary happiness. Okay, we'll read a little bit further. Hopefully we can finish it. The external energy of the Lord is called material world. And the kingdom of internal energy of the Lord is called Vaikuntha, or the kingdom of God. So if you want to know what Lord Krishna's house is called, it's called Vaikuntha. In the Vaikuntha world, there is no disharmony. Everybody is actually very happy. There is no fighting. There is no disharmony between the Lord and the residents. Therefore, God's creation in the Vaikuntha world is perfect. There is no cause of fear. They don't know fear there. No one's afraid. The entire kingdom of God is such a completely harmonious unit that there is no possibility of enmity. There are no enemies there. Everything there is absolute. Just as there are many physiological constructions within the body, yet they work in order for the satisfaction of the stomach. Just as in the machine there are hundreds and thousands of parts, yet they run in harmony to fulfill the function of the machine. In the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord is perfect And the inhabitants also perfectly engage in the service of the Lord. So that's like the perfect world that we are looking for. Right now, there's a lot of disharmony in our world, and I don't really need to tell you what it is. You just have to look at the news. There's a lot of disharmony. So there's no such thing like that in the spiritual world. So the Mayavadi philosophers, the impersonalists, interpret this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam to mean that the small sky and the big sky are one. But this idea cannot stand. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that this is not the only sky. There's a sky beyond this, a bigger sky. This sky that we see is a material sky. Now, material sky was created at a certain date. Does anybody know the date? I don't know the date either. Let's say the beginning of this universe, when this universe was created. When Lord Mahavishnu breathed out our universe. So our sky was created at a certain date. Now this sky is going to finish at a certain date also. It's not going to last. That is the small sky. And the big sky, that is the spiritual sky. That sky holds millions and trillions of Vaikuntha planets. Vaikuntha planets, these are planets, the spiritual planets, they're Lord Krishna's abodes, they're millions and trillions. This sky, the big sky, it never finishes or never annihilates or never is destroyed. So there are two skies. So here it is being stated that the Mayavadi philosophers think that the small sky and the big sky are one. No. The small sky might be part of it, but it's not the whole. Just like we are the soul, Mayavadi philosophers think, okay, well, we are the soul, we are God. I'm God, you're God, everybody is God. We are all God. No. We might be part and parcel, but we can never really be the whole God. We cannot, never. We're fractional. We do have the same nature to enjoy, but we are not. So that was a story about the sky. And obviously it cannot hold because it just cannot. Something that's temporary is not the same as that which is permanent. The example of the big sky and the small sky is also applicable to a person's body. The big sky is the body itself, and other parts of the body occupy the small sky. Each and every part of the body has individuality, even though occupying a small part of the total body. So let's say your heart. What's your heart? What does it do? It keeps you alive. But it's not your whole body, even though it has a very important part. So that's what it's really saying. We're part and parcel, but we are not really the whole. So, continuing from there. Similarly, the whole creation is the body of the Supreme Lord. And we were created beings. Or anything, wow, there's quite another page. Created are a small part of that body. The parts of the body are never equal to the whole. This is never possible. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said eternally, parts and parcels. According to the Mayavadi philosophers, the living entity in illusion considers himself part and parcel, although he is actually one and the same of the supreme whole. The theory is not valid. The oneness of the whole and part is in their quality. The qualitative oneness of the small and large portions of the sky does not imply that the small sky becomes the big sky. So that's kind of logical, right? The small sky is not the big sky. There is no cause for the politics of divide and rule in Vaikuntha planets. So if you are wondering if there's any politics going on in Lord Krishna's house, there is none. What is politics? Politics is when somebody is trying to make himself happy at the expense of others. That's politics, mine. So they try to enjoy their senses or try to take what doesn't belong to them. They think they're entitled to it, but it is really at the expense of others. That's politics. So there is no politics there. There is no fear. Because of the united interests of the Lord and the residents, Maya means disharmony between the living entities and the Supreme Lord. And Vaikuntha means harmony between them. Let's just have a look at Vaikuntha for a while, little while, a couple of minutes. What does Vaikuntha mean? Vaikuntha is Lord Krishna's home, as we know, it's called Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means a place where there is no anxiety. Vai means no, Kunta means anxiety. So Vaikuntha, no anxiety, no fear, no politics, no disharmony. So what does that make material world? Material world is Kunta, full of anxieties. Yeah, we've got anxieties, a lot of anxieties. And we'll always have anxieties. And we chose to be in an a world full of anxiety, because we kind of were rebellious with Krishna. Krishna gives us free will, by the way. What does free will mean? We've heard that quite a lot in a lot of classes, free will. Krishna gives us free will. Free will basically means either you surrender to Krishna or you don't. That's your choice. That's what it means. So it's your choice, your free will. You surrender to Krishna or you don't. And I would say that we are all sitting here, so we are kind of surrendered. So our choice, we kind of know what it is. And we are struggling to get into a better place, to have no anxieties. Now, it doesn't mean, I was actually meditating on this last night when I was reading this purport. Vaikuntha is a place of anxiety. Does that mean that the world in which we live in is it is obviously full of no anxieties, but is it like completely devoid? Like, isn't there a time when we actually have a space, a gap? You know, like those prisoners, they have a good day, they have halwa. Do we have a good day where there is no anxiety? And I thought about it and I thought, yes, we do actually. Prabhupada provided it for us. He gave us a little bit of Vaikuntha. Where do we find it? We find it in this temple. Or any of the temples. So Lord Krishna, for a little while we find relief. When we are with Krishna, we feel no anxiety. So if you ask, what are you doing in the temple? Oh, I came to ask for some money because I don't have a job, my wallet's empty. I came to ask for a permanent resident, or I came to ask for this or that, I've come to ask for distress. Some people will say, oh, I came to temple for some Shanti. Who is this Shanti? Everyone's running after her. I'd like to meet her. So, Shanti, no anxiety, Vaikuntha. So, if we come to the temple, we get a little bit of Vaikuntha, taste of Vaikuntha. This is the only place you'll find it. Or you'll find Vaikuntha in Kirtans. Now, Kirtans is obviously the names of the holy names of Lord Krishna. You find Vaikuntha in that. Now, why we say that? Vaikuntha is actually another name for Lord Krishna. Did you know that? It's on Lord Krishna's name is Vaikuntha. He is Vaikuntha. So, when we chant his holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Guess what? There is Vaikuntha there. There's no anxiety there. That's why we are told, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So we do find a little bit of Vaikuntha down here, even in our world of misery. And the reason why is because in this age, Kali Yuga, it's a prescribed thing. Like in the past, these little four Sanatan Kumars who went to this the door, they kind of achieve Lord Krishna, or they achieve Vaikuntha by meditation. Or in different ages, they used to worship at the temples, or they would say mantras or things like that, meditation that find Krishna. But in our age, it's really prescribed you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There's Vaikuntha in there. So that's why we do it. Now why? Because Lord Krishna himself said, I'm going to be present in my names. He said it. That was his exact words. He's personally present. So whenever we chant Hare Krishna, don't think that it is in vain, or it doesn't have any effect. When we say even one word of one mantra, one time we just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we can actually remove or eradicate so many sins, millions of sins that we have accumulated. It's a fact. So I know that we all know this, but sometimes we need to be reminded. No matter what happens, you chant. So, you lose your job, you chant. You have facing some kind of trauma, you chant. Whatever is happening, you chant. You can leave everything else, but not chanting. And for those of us, think who are initiated, we say, okay, let's let it go. This time we won't chant. And there are periods when devotees who are initiated, kind of things happen in their lives, and they leave the chanting because they're under so much stress. It happens. It's a fact. So what happens at that time when you're initiated and suddenly you stop chanting or taking the Lord's names? You start accumulating karma again. Oops. Yeah. So you gotta live through that karma. So you start accumulating bad karma. So keep chanting. And that's really what the knowledge means. Now, I said take a little break and find out Vaikuntha. Anxiety. What does anxiety mean in our world? It's very obvious. We all know what anxiety is in our world. What it is birth, death, old age, and disease. That's the actual anxiety in our world. We are not going to live forever. And so we have to do things in order to get out of this anxiety. Just chant Hare Krishna. And purify. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki Jai. And really that is really the essence of every shlok you will read in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Anything that you read that Prabhupada has written there, chant and get out of this miserable world. Does that mean that once we become a devotee, we don't suffer? Now, there's two kinds of suffering. Did you know that? One suffering suffered by non-devotees. And another one is suffering suffered by... Do you think devotees don't suffer? When we chant Hare Krishna, we don't suffer? Of course we do. We still die. We still, we are born. We still have disease. We still get corona. Right? We get it all. So what's then the difference between a non-devotee suffering and a devotee suffering? There is a difference. The difference is that we have the knowledge, Vedic Shastra knowledge. We've been chanting. We get the tolerance. We get the tolerance to kind of go through all this suffering. The suffering is the same. And the suffering suffered by a non-devotee is extremely traumatic. They don't know how to handle it. And so what do? They commit some acts to relieve their pressures of this suffering. They think, okay, I'll take another country that doesn't belong to me. It's going to make me feel better. But actually what they're doing is they're actually committing even more, accumulating more karma and for future suffering. So they will suffer even more. I'm just using that as an example. But like on an ordinary person, they are suffering who are not devotees. They'll try to steal somebody's property or kill somebody. I mean, look, you can just look at the news, what people are doing. They're basically doing this to relieve their suffering. And they think that's great. But of course not. They're accumulating even more suffering for later. What does a devotee do? Devotees, they don't do things like that. They tolerate. So when you are suffering, you go to Krishna and go, why? Why me? Yeah, you can do that sometimes. You go and pray. Krishna knows you're going to come to him and ask him why. But you read the Shastras, you chant the Hare Krishna, you get the knowledge, you get the tolerance. And that's the difference. And the advantage of that is you don't come back for further suffering. Because you've taken actions not to do what non-devotees do, but trying to commit sinful activities to, relieve yourself. You don't do that. That's the difference. Okay, so let's continue wherever I left off from. Actually, living entities are provided for and maintained by the Lord because He is the supreme living entity. But foolish creatures, although actually under the control of the supreme living entity, defies His existence, and the state is called Maya. Sometimes they deny that there is such a being as God. They say everything is void, and sometimes they deny Him in different way. There may be a God, but He has no form. Both these conceptions arise from the rebellious condition of the living entity. As long as these rebellious conditions prevail, the material world will continue in disharmony. So harmony or disharmony is realized because of the law and order of a particular place. Religion is the law and order of the Supreme Lord. We kind of follow that law. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we find that religion means devotional service or Krishna consciousness. Krishna says, give up all other religious principles and simply become a soul surrendered unto me. This is religion. When one is fully conscious that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and the supreme Lord, one acts accordingly. That is real religion. Anything which goes against this principle is not religion. Krishna therefore says, give up all other religious principles. In the spiritual world, this religious principle of Krishna consciousness is maintained in harmony. And therefore, that world is called Vaikuntha. That's where we all want to go. If the same principles can be adopted here, wholly or partially, then it is also Vaikuntha. Now, let's just stop there for just a second. How can you make your house Vaikuntha? Does anybody have any idea? Let's have a little bit of interaction. There is no wrong answer. So you can, yes. 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 Yes, spot on. You have an altar in your house. Anything else? You? Kirtan, correct. And you chant, yes. And you offer prasadam. And your house will become like Vaikuntha. So, and if we follow Lord Krishna's rules and regulations, then there will be harmony. So there will be no husband and wife, fighting with each other, or no children, disobeying the parents. Well, anybody's house with an altar will say, my wife still fights with me. But it's not a really huge kind of fight if you respect each other. When you are practicing Krishna consciousness, you will have a little bit of mirch and masala there, but, there is harmony still. So, we can actually make our house. This was in a class of Srila Prabhupada, actually. I was listening some time ago. And he had said that we can actually make our house, our homes, like Vaikuntha planet. It's a little bit of a relief from the outside world. And that's what we do. We have the Mahamantra, and we have the Kirtans in our house. We also have association with devotees. And that's what we do in order to make our life a little more pleasant and free from anxiety. So this is kind of like becoming an anti-stress class, how to deal with stress. You chant and you offer prasadam and you understand. Actually, Lord Krishna said to Narad Muni, he said, do you think that I only reside in Vaikuntha planets? He said, no, that's not it. I don't always reside in Vaikuntha planets. Where else do I reside? I reside in a place where my glories are sung, where my names are sung. So he said that. So if you want Vaikuntha Nath, or Vaikuntha Pati, or Vaikuntha himself to be present, then we have to glorify him and have him installed somewhere in your house somewhere. And he said that to Narad Muni. He said, I'm present over there too. So he lives there too. And naturally, when Krishna lives somewhere, who else lives there? His thousands of Lakshmi Devis are there. They will not live without Krishna. So they will follow him. So your house will be full of prosperity and wealth. It's sadly, this is the knowledge that we devotees get. And sometimes we just need to be reminded that your home is really like Vaikuntha if you are practicing. And Lakshmi Devi lives there. If Lord Krishna is there, and Krishna is there, Lakshmi Devi. If Lakshmi Devi is there, Lord Krishna is there. So we really need to do that. Okay, so we are coming to the conclusion almost. So it is with any society, such as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, if the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, putting faith in Krishna as the center, live in harmony according to the order and principles of the Bhagavad Gita, then they are living in Vaikuntha and not this material world. So this is just what I said. Now in terms of politics, politics is when you have politics, there is a lot of disharmony. So what do? That's, by word of mouth. We use our mouth and our tongue to, talk. or make plans, or we use our mind. So we were actually discussing in Sriman Narasimha gave a class just yesterday, and I just caught the last of it. So I'm just going to give an example. The same example he gave was of Ambarish Maharaj. He said, you utilize all your body parts for Lord Krishna. Now, a lot of the time we want to enjoy our senses, right? This and that. Now, there is a center of the senses. What is the center of all the senses we have? It's the mind. The mind is the center of all the senses. So in order to control the rest of the senses, we have got to control the mind, the center. So how do we control the mind? We actually focus, what Ambarish Maharaj did, we focus on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. In other words, our mind should be always, it's very difficult, as Arjun said, it's like controlling wild horses or, like a hurricane force. But still, we have to try to focus our mind on Lord Krishna, then the rest of the senses are controlled. So that's the mind. The second one, obviously, is the tongue. We use the tongue to sing the glories of Lord Krishna. The pastimes, we use it to chant. We use the tongue to taste prasadam. The other parts of the body, we use, to worship Lord Krishna, to clean Lord Krishna's temple. The feet we use to walk to the temple. Some people say, you walk to the temple bare feet, you get more blessings. I'm not saying you do that. You imagine someone's living in Penrith and walks barefoot. North Sydney, can't do that. In any case, you use your feet or your car, you come to the temple. So this is what Ambarish Maharaj had done. And really, that will save us from this concept of disharmony. There will be a little more harmony in us. And once there's a little harmony in us, then we can actually help other people. So that's the conclusion of the class. We're on time. Any comments or any questions? Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Hare Krishna, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Puran ki.